as I saw success, I became more positive and more believing in who I am, in my abilities to succeed. And as I continued to lose, it made me a more confident person. People that I would interact with at work would notice, not only the physical change, but they'd notice that I would be more quick to move things, quick to interact. I would interact with folks, but I would also hang in the back because I wasn't happy with how I looked. At this point, I have, I feel very comfortable in my skin. I'm more confident when I talk to folks. In the end, it's just, I feel much better and I feel more positive with life in general.
Hey there, my friend. It's Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, and I want to welcome you back to another episode here on the Fit Father Project podcast. In just a moment, you're going to hear a story and a testimony from one of our amazing program members, Steve Alexander. Steve is a 54-year-old father of 3 girls, and he used our program starting in 2019, right after July 4th, to go on and lose 190 pounds. Steve started this program at just knocking on the door short of 400 pounds, and he's lost nearly 200 pounds since. And I think Steve's story is very important because it really illustrates the fact that you're never too old or too far gone to start losing weight and to create something that's absolutely incredible. I mean, now Steve, 200 pounds effectively gone, is running half marathons now. He's enjoying new energy and vitality with his daughters. He has a more positive outlook on life. And all of this really came from the fact that he had the courage to start a program and he worked it. So without further ado, let's introduce Steve Alexander and hear about his incredible story, his incredible weight loss, and all the amazing changes he had along the way. All right, Steve, welcome officially to the Fit Father podcast. Really happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
So you have an incredible story to share. And before we get into that and your journey of losing nearly 200 pounds up to this point, I want you to introduce yourself to the guys and the ladies who are listening to this. Your name, your age, where you're from, maybe a little bit about your family, what you do for work, and let's set the stage.
Sure. I'm Steve Alexander. I am 54 years old. I'm a divorced father of 3 girls. They are wonderful parts of my life. I'm 26, 23, and 16 years of age. I'm a plant manager at a factory that makes educational furniture, preschool and kindergartens. So we build furniture for those type of kids. Actually, that was a new change. I made a change to that job recently. So very excited.
Where are you located?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I live in Keene, New Hampshire, currently up in the cold area of the world.
Cool. All right. So let's get into your Fit Father journey. What prompted you to find us, and where were you at in your life when you did find us? How'd you get started, basically?
It was, and I have a really good memory of this. It was July 5th, actually, of 2020. I was at that point, hugely overweight, 390 pounds to be, approximately, and just not getting along with life very well, feeling I was spinning out of control to some extent. I remember, just feeling, I think sometime right prior to that, I had some feelings that, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to lose weight. I'm just in the end, I'd done different things that they hadn't worked. Well, that's in the middle of COVID, and you're starting to read about all the things about, hey, people who are overweight are more susceptible to having complications. And at that point, it's like, I've got to do something here. I think like a lot of people, I decided to take a few minutes and do a search. So I went into Google and put in some things about, losing weight after 50, exercise for people after 50. And I came across one of your videos that, that I happened to look at, and I'm going, all right, who's this Dr. Anthony? And what's he talking about? Went back and listened to it, and really it connected. What you were saying at the time made a lot of basic sense. And so, at that point I decided, you know what? Let me give this a chance. So I decided at that point, I'm just going to jump in and sign up for FF30X, the first phase, and see what happens. I made myself a promise at that moment in time. When I did it, if I'm going to jump in there, I'm going to do the whole thing. I'm not going to, like a lot of people, you sit there and say, well, I'm going to do this fad. Well, no, I'm going to follow everything that's suggested to the T to give it the real opportunity. Because at that point, I didn't know where to go. So, to me, what you said made a lot of sense. And so from my standpoint, I wanted to give it the best opportunity to work and do what I had to do.
Hmm. Yeah. And so as you're starting the program, what are some of the tangible first changes that you're making in your life? Whether it's your mission statement or switching up your nutrition, like what was most impactful in the beginning? And what was like getting set up on the program like for you?
The one thing I will say, getting set up in the program, the way it's structured works very well. It's set up in a way that makes sense. Honestly, the key factors that I found when we first got to the discussion of the mission statement, I almost wanted to say, you know what, I don't, why do I need to write a mission statement? Then I really read it and thought about it. And I said, no, I promised myself I made myself promise I would follow, what was suggested. So I wrote that mission statement. And that is one of the most powerful things to start the program. And I see it all the time in the Facebook group where people talk about, struggling, and you start saying, well, okay, what's your why? Why are you here? What are you doing? And you come to find out they didn't do the mission statement, or they didn't give it, the effort that they needed to. Since I've been on this journey, I've written my mission statement 3 times because it changes. When I started, my mission statement was, it was about losing weight. It was about, a little bit about being more active with my family. My most recent mission statement is, being more healthy. It's continuing my health journey. It's learning a little bit more spiritual. It's being a better boss at work. I think that's misunderstood by many of the brotherhood or new people, that mission statement is super critical. And then nutrition, you said it, and I know many of us have repeated it. Nutrition is 80% of the battle. If you don't do good nutrition, you can't out exercise a bad diet, no matter what anyone says. And trust me, I've tried for years. I didn't get to 390 pounds, overnight. And for many years, I was a very active person. But even when I was very active, I spent time in the military. And even at that point, I was 240, 260, and so that's still just dramatically, more than I should have weighed.
Totally makes sense. And so when you're starting off, that heavy, what were you doing in terms of exercise as you're beginning to lose weight? Were you walking? Were you starting formal workouts? I mean, I know things have changed a lot since getting that weight off, but what's it like starting from that point?
It was a challenge. I went out, and again, this is during the start. This is during COVID, and everyone is, all gyms are closed, and trying to find kettlebells and dumbbells is like, wishing for, something to fall out of the sky. Was lucky enough to go find a set of 7-pound dumbbells. I started off with the nutrition. Then week 2, hey, I looked at this Apex 10 thing, and yeah, I'm that big, but wow, this doesn't look that hard. Well, yeah, right. Kicked my butt. Basically, I got up to level 6. I think after level 3, I'm doing push-ups and renegade rows for my knees. But I went up to 6 and went down. I also incorporated walking. Again, I didn't walk super long distance, but I incorporated walking. And I also made sure at work where I was working make sure I was out and around the factory more than I had been, less sediment. So again, just trying to be more active in general. But I made the decision to make sure I incorporated the exercise because I really wanted to make a change. The biggest part of that was finding time. That's always the challenge. For me, what I ended up deciding to do was I just get up early in the morning. I've always been kind of an early riser. So I just set the clock back initially 30 minutes initially when I started. And that was my workout time. I get up, have my water, which was key, do the workout, and then, start the day.
Sounds like to me how instrumental it was that you chose to carve out that time for you as more of a morning guy and make that sacred. Imagine that helped you build a lot of momentum, and that's something new. And then you were anchoring your first meal of the day. What kind of breakfast were you having? And imagine you're having this sometime after you exercise.
Yeah. So at that time, I jumped on board with the shake. At that point, I think I even had ordered the FitFather Super Fuel. I hadn't come in, so I went out to the local store using the guidance that you provided and found a protein that fit the ratios and used that. And so I started with that. I started with a shake. I do a shake to this day, 5 days a week. And then on Saturday, I have a breakfast that's basically 2 eggs and, just to give me something different. And then Sunday is typically a full fast day for me. So,
Nice.
but I've got
What a
it set
plan.
up.
That's
So
perfect. Really good. And now, as you're changing your nutrition, how quickly does the weight start to come off you? Like, what are you experiencing in your first week,
so
2 weeks, month?
well, the first month I lost 59 pounds. And I think,
59?
oh, was it 50? Yeah.
5'9"?
Yeah, sorry. That's the end of phase one. That was 59 pounds at the end of phase one. The first month, I think I wanted to lose 15 pounds. I lost 19 in the first month.
Okay.
So again, I was so big that I was a steady weight loser I didn't hit a plateau for many, many months. Again, it's when you're that big, it's hard not to lose weight if you're doing all the right things. Occasionally I'd have a day where I didn't see weight come off, but I didn't sweat it because I knew it would come off the next day. When you're that big, it will come off if you do the right things.
What was it like hitting your first 100-pound milestone? I mean, there was something you were looking forward to, but
it was mind blowing because, like I said, there was a point prior to me starting this that, I was resolute that I'm always going to be over 300 pounds. I'm 6 feet tall. So I've always carried weight a little different, but when I look at a picture of me then to now, I can't believe I let myself get to that point. So when I dropped down and I broke basically down to 290, I was ecstatic and, I was excited to see where I could continue to go. The numbers, the weight is one number. You look at all my other numbers, they've all trended down. My blood pressure number, when I started this, my resting heart rate was 84. My resting heart rate measured last week because I had to have a surgery done was 54.
wow.
That's a huge
That's
drop.
awesome.
It's funny because I go in and the nurse says, "Is your heart rate always this low?" And I said, "It's been this way for, a little bit of time now." Because they were going to put me under some anesthesia and they wanted to make sure that, there's nothing unusual. And I'm saying, no, I'm good. But yeah, no, I've had a huge drop in that time, and that's the other reason, I've been borderline diabetes, I have some type 2 diabetes that runs in the family. So, if I didn't take care of myself better, at this point, my blood sugars have been fine. They were borderline before, but they're better than they were. So again, everything about this journey has helped me be healthier, and it's great.
Let's talk about your girls a little bit, because I know a meaningful part of your journey has been being able to start to run some races and half marathon with some of your girls. And I imagine, thinking from what you're at 390 now, to be able to do this is probably really incredible. What's that experience been like there? Like, just with the abilities that you now have?
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting, basically as we progressed through my journey, it was April last year that I wanted to change up and do something different. I hadn't run in a long time. Obviously at 390, you weren't going to run anywhere. At that point, I think I was 250, and I decided, I needed to do something different for my cardio. I started running so I would go out and do my hits, as a jogger. Around the 4th of July of last year, there was a 4-mile race. You say, you know what, let me do that. I'd done that when I was, probably 10 years ago. So let me redo that one. That'd be kind of fun. I went out and ran that race, and, my girls were excited to see me, and support me in doing it. It kind of lit a fire. It was one of those things. I signed up for it. It gave me something. It gave me a goal. And then the next thing I knew, I finished that race, and I kind of looked around and said, hey, I enjoyed that. Let me find another race. And so I found another 5K and did that. And then before I knew it, what really got me going was there was a post from Craig Taylor about doing the Ragnar, the Reach the Beach. And I saw the post and I'm saying, hey, that sounds kind of interesting. It may be a little bit too much, but, it sounds interesting. Let me, and I like the post. And I remember Craig responds back and he said, so do you like the post? Does that mean you want to do it? And I'm going, well, yeah, I think it does mean I want to do it. So I signed up to do it. And that is probably the biggest thing that told me that, once I went through that experience, for one, I met some real great members of the brotherhood and sisterhood, as part of that, because it's a relay team, helped me prove to myself that I could do longer distances and prepare for them. And what that turned into is I did 3 half marathons last year from September through basically September, starting in October, November, and December. I did 3 half marathons. So it was just crazy, starting from where I was to that, doing 3 half marathons. And I'm at the point with my oldest daughter that I've motivated her. She says, Dad, can we do a half marathon this year together? So we're both training and we will run a half marathon together. The last half I did in Florida. I went down to visit with my middle daughter who's living in Florida, spent time with her, went out and did a half marathon, then came back, spent more time with her. I didn't think of myself as a runner, and I still really don't, but I enjoy it. It gives me that good endorphin. And I really enjoy the stress relief it gives, but it also does dovetail into the rest of, I still do the MRTs. I still do those strength workouts. I fit those in. In fact, any research you do with running, it tells you strength training is key if you want to do it injury free. So, I enjoy it. And, I do a lot of local running. So I run across, Glenn Page quite frequently at races, and I'll also run across Lee and Amy Spatch occasionally as well at those races. And so, in fact, Amy and Lee did one of the half marathons I was at, and that was also one where Glenn did a full. So it was kind of interesting to be able to root them on at the same time I'm doing mine. So it was great.
That's beautiful. I mean, yeah. I use the word beautiful intentionally just to think about how far you came in a mere short amount of time. It's amazing. I mean, in your 50s too, where a lot of people are like, think they're over the hill, and you kind of, and you didn't expect to achieve any of this, which I love. You just had the mentality back in that moment on July 5th, where you're just like, I'm going to give this a shot. And then you can astonish yourself to see where you go, right? It's just beautiful. Yeah. I want to ask you now, what makes this sustainable for you? Because obviously you tried diets and stuff like this before. Why is this different? And do you have the sense that you can keep this up long term? I mean, I think the answer is yes, but I'd love to hear your perspective on the sustainability of why this has been different for you.
Well, I think one of the biggest reasons this is different for me is you set up a building block with a ton of education behind it. So you gave me the why as to why things work the way they do. In some respects, I knew some of it, but I needed someone to say, hey, you need to do, this is why this works. And here are some of the, here's the science behind it. I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer by background. So I look at numbers and I dig into things and I try to do as much of the research as I can, and in the end, what I was able to do is you set up the building blocks and then I turned it into my program. So I look at this as my program, so in the end, it's like my nutrition plan. I love to cook. So I've taken the basics you've done before. I was buying takeout and bringing it home and eating. I don't need to do that. I can cook it just as quick and make it taste better at home with better ingredients. I like pizza. I make my own pizza. I just make sure it's healthy, or as healthy as it can be. And then the same thing with the workout. In the end, you gave me the building blocks, but it wasn't like you have to do this. It's not like, here are the things you say, and I go back and I repeat the exercises and the workouts. At this point, I'll just interchange them. This week I'll do Apex 10. Next week I'll do double trouble, just to keep it going, and in the end, it's my routine, but you've given me the basics for it and the reasons, why they work. And I think that's the hardest thing that people don't understand. It's like, oh, I've got to follow this to the letter. No, you don't. But you got to understand what's there and then make it yours.
That's like literally perfectly said. It's your system, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you have your own nutrition system. You found a new love for the importance of food and now cooking and preparing yourself while still enjoying the taste of great foods.
Yeah.
With your exercise, the kind of boxes that you want to check every week. I'll get an
Yeah.
MRT in, I'll do this. This is based on my schedule. I'll do some cardio here, free day
Yeah.
here. It's just your own flow. And you've accumulated enough time in this that the momentum just builds on itself. And you have the skills to
Yeah.
course correct in case there's a free meal, a cheat meal, or anything like that.
Oh yeah, and I stumble. There's always those cases where you stumble, but you don't get wrapped up in it. And right now I just had a hernia surgery. Actually, it was 3 hernias that had to be fixed. So I am, I'm limited to what I can lift, and I'm limited to that. But one of the things I'm trying that I hadn't done was, intermittent fasting. You gave me the tools and the background on how to set that up. I've never done it, but at this point, I can't do the MRTs right now. I can't run. I can walk. They're limiting me to walking. So at this point, the only thing I can do is focus on the nutrition, which nutrition's 80% of the battle. But let me try the intermittent fasting. And I've been doing that for 2 weeks. I'm still slowly losing weight, and I'm still, it's working well. And so you've given me additional tools, that something that I didn't think I would do, and now I'm trying to think, all right, when I get back to being busy and really active, can I sustain the intermittent fasting and do the workouts, or am I going to have to make an adjustment? But that's something I'll work through and figure out. And if I need some help, I know I can reach out to the support team and say, hey, I want to do this. I can reach out to Kat or Ben, and they can help me pick the right direction.
That's awesome. And I'll say smart move too on using the intermittent fasting while you're recovering. Very, very good. And hey, right, another tool in your toolbox of your system. That's powerful. I want to hear about your mindset, because I think I'm imagining at different stages of this journey for you, you probably thought about yourself a little bit differently, or maybe related to, there was a dominance of certain types of thoughts. How would you categorize that in stages? From maybe beginning, middle, where you are now? How did the mindset change over the course of time?
It changed dramatically. When I first started this, I wasn't necessarily a negative person, but I had a lot of self-doubt with things. I think, I said when I started, I was convinced I'd never see below 300 pounds again. So I just continued to, as I saw success, I became more positive and more believing in who I am, in my abilities to succeed. And as I continued to lose, it made me a more confident person. People that I would interact with at work would notice, not only the physical change, but they'd notice that I would be more quick to move things, quick to interact. I would interact with folks, but I would also hang in the back because I wasn't happy with how I looked. At this point, I have, I feel very comfortable in my skin. I'm more confident when I talk to folks. In the end, it's just, I feel much better, and I feel more positive with life in general than where I was. So
it's a very amazing part of this experience. It's like the gift you get that you didn't know you were going to get, but it comes as a byproduct of the body getting healthy. I'm so glad you're experiencing that.
It's your mindset changes. And at this point, I'm at a point where if I put my mind to it, I'm pretty sure I'll accomplish it. It may take me a while. And if I don't, then I'll learn something from it, and I will go back and find another way to get there. I'm just more positive about things.
I think when I hear you say that, Steve, I'm thinking contrasting your initial mindset, which was one of self-doubt. Like there was enough hope that you try something, but you didn't really believe in yourself and your ability to do it. And for good reason. The evidence at the time was showing you that this was not going great. But now you're at a place of personal power, where you just feel empowered to be able to, if I set my mind to it, it gets done. And how cool is that? That's not just health and fitness domain specific. That's probably anything. I mean, you accomplish such a specific and powerful transformation that you have this internal confidence now that you can tackle anything. And I experienced the same thing in many ways through my different health journeys and recovering from healing from my dad passing and building these companies. So I can relate so much to what you just shared there. And I want to say cheers to your personal power, my friend. And I'm excited to see how you use it over the coming years.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, when I left my last job to come to my current job, I was confident when I went in the interview. It made me, I walked into there. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how to, I knew what I wanted. I knew I had the ability to do that job. I would have had the ability before, but I wouldn't have had the self-confidence per se, because I would have been more concerned about other things. For me, it's shown me, the Fifth Father Project has really given me the tools to feel confident in myself and learn more about me. Again, it's a whole, and that's the other thing I guess I will say. The program, yes, it starts off focusing on your health, but it's more than that. It's, we get into the mind and the spirit, and, where are the things in your life that can help build into it. It's all intertwined. As one area gets stronger, the other areas that you need to focus on do start showing up, and you have to spend some time figuring out those as well. But I feel that if I can do what I just did in fixing my health or improving my health, I don't want to say fixing because it's still got some ways to go, but improving my health, I can pretty much do it anywhere if I put my mind to it.
Very well said. I want to pivot here and ask you some questions regarding advice you would give to yourself starting out, having the perspective now that you have gone through this journey. And maybe that advice also applies to like really heavy guys, like guys who are like you that want to be close to 400 pounds, that maybe have 150 to 200 pounds to lose to get to, a very healthy condition. What advice would you give to like very heavy guys starting out on their weight loss journey?
Start, for one. Don't let the self-doubt stop you. Start with the basics. You don't have to, this is the hardest thing that I had to learn is I can't do everything at once. Pick a small battle and win it. So for me, the small battle was doing all the prep work, writing the mission statement, start with the nutrition, focus on the small things and then move into the next thing. And then once you get to one success, go to the next one, but start. We can all come up with reasons not to, and that's probably I wish I had found this program 2 years earlier, to be honest, or 3 years earlier before I got to where I was. Because had I found it earlier, where would I be today? Would I be, 185, and running ultra marathons? I don't know. But I think the biggest thing is just starting. We can all come up with excuses not to do something. Don't let yourself come up with the excuses, and I think that's my biggest thing. I would always come up with a reason not to do it. You look at Weight Watchers. Oh, I don't want to do that. You look at all these other things. I don't, come up with a reason. I remember visiting my mother in Maine, and she pulled me aside and said she was concerned about my weight. And I just said, okay, thank you very much. And I came up with a reason in my head. And this was like 2 years ahead of, jumping on the journey here. I came up with a reason in my head not to do it. And instead of just saying, okay, I need to, start. And it sounds simple, but for whatever reason, we all come up with this, we're going to not do it. I ate too much today, so therefore I failed. So I'm not going to continue. No, just start again.
Yeah. That mentality of starting again too, I imagine is very powerful, just because there's obviously deviations in this journey, and your ability to just restart, start. And the more times you start, you continue to move forward. And the more results you get, the more confident you get. And eventually this thing snowballs into where you're at today. What does it mean to you to be a fit father? Like, what does that word or that phrase, that idea mean to you today?
Today, it's family. One of the things, I've grown, over the since I've joined. There are wonderful people that are part of the brotherhood, and it's actually sisterhood too, the ones that I've interacted with. It means family. I interact, like I said, on a personal level with several of the brothers. I was surprised to find that I was an inspiration. I had a couple reach out to me and said, hey, Steve, you've been inspiring me, on your journey. And it's like, I didn't expect that. I also was inspired by other folks. So it's great to be with a group of folks that have a similar mindset, that want to improve their life and want to improve. The weight's a great benefit, but it's more than that. It's improving life. It's improving family. It's making a change that's meaningful. From my standpoint, that's really the key. It's, the Fit Father Brotherhood is really, it's family, and I truly think that, and sometimes within the family, we disagree. There are times within the brotherhood, I've had brothers tell me I shouldn't run because I'm going to destroy my knees. And it's like, well, thank you for your advice, but my knees seem to be fine and I'm doing fine. But I respect who that person is because he's also, doing great things here as well. So, but again, it's family.
Yeah, that's a beautiful answer. And I really agree. And in what can be accomplished when a bunch of like-minded and like-valued people get together in a group centered around positivity and mutual support, it's incredible. I mean, I know for a fact that had we just handed you a meal plan and some workout videos without the community, this wouldn't have been as fraction as impactful for you or even for us. Like, it's been a privilege to be able to like be with you in this journey. Like, you giving us, and me personally, I'll speak from my heart, such a gift to be able to see what you've been able to do with this through your own efforts. So it's like this cycle of giving and receiving just like compounds on itself. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's really the Facebook group when, it's one of those things when, I've never been a huge Facebook person. That has been huge with this journey because it is, I used it for the first 6 months. That was my accountability partner. I would post everything, every workout, everything in there so I did it. And it was interesting when we started training for the Ragnar. I remember someone saying, because again, I said I'm an early morning runner. I'm an early morning exerciser. So I would be up, like I said, I adjusted my time. I'd be up and I'd do my runs at 3:30 in the morning. And people were just, I would get this, why are you up so early? Because that's the only time I have.
But that for you, I mean, you're making time because it was important enough for you and because it made you feel good, or elsewise you wouldn't have been doing it. And that's the thing that's hard to explain when you're starting out is like, that seems like a drag, but now for you, this is like something you actually look forward to doing. It's like, I get that.
Correct.
All right. So I want to turn this over to you for one last time. Anything you'd like to share in closing? Whether that's thanks to specific guys in the brotherhood or just any other words of wisdom before we wrap this convo up.
Yeah, I think in the end, my best words of wisdom go back to, if you're new and you're questioning this, start. It works. Follow the program. Write the mission statement. Review the mission statement. Put it where you can see it. Update it frequently. From a personal standpoint, I don't think I could name enough brothers there. There's so many of them that I just respect. I respect all of anyone who's on this journey. I hope, hopefully I'm here to support you. And again, if there's something that they need, they can reach out. I'm here, again, I love them all. And that's really the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for being such a pillar of inspiration in our community for so many, maybe unintentionally, but that's what you are for so many now. So I want to give you my thanks and appreciation because it's special when guys like you come through and really work this thing, and you're a shining light just by being who you are to other guys who will follow your suit. And I'm looking forward to seeing the next Stephen Alexander in his own way, shape, or form that he designs his program and sees comparable life-changing results for you. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate you tremendously.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Balduzzi.